All right, today we are diving into the world of one of the planet's most uniquely adapted parasites, Loa loa. Now, you might know it by its much more famous and, let's be honest, slightly terrifying name, the African eyeworm. Let's get into the fascinating and, yes, a little unnerving story of this incredible organism.
So, to kick things off, let's just start with this one staggering fact. An adult Loa loa worm can live and travel through your body tissues for up to 20 years. Think about that. That's 2 full decades for a single uninvited guest.
So what exactly is this thing? Well, its scientific name is Loa loa, but it really earned its famous nickname, the African eyeworm, from its most dramatic party trick, the visible journey of a full-grown worm right across the surface of a person's eye. And the name itself has a pretty cool origin story. In several West African languages, the name Loa loa is basically a repetition. It literally means worm. This kind of emphasis really tells you just how big a deal, how present this parasite was in the daily lives of people living there.
Okay, so to really understand this creature, we've got to figure out where it belongs in the grand scheme of things. What kind of animal are we actually dealing with here?
First off, Loa loa is an endoparasite. Now, endo means inside, so it lives its entire adult life inside the human body, specifically just under the skin. This is totally different from ectoparasites, think ticks or lice, that live on the outside.
You know, when we hear the word parasite, a lot of us immediately picture some microscopic, single-celled germ. But Loa loa, well, it's in a whole different league. It's a metazoan. That means it's a complex, multicellular animal with its own tissues and organ systems. It's a real animal, just one that happens to live its life inside another animal.
Okay, I know this looks like a page out of a biology textbook, but hang with me. The really key takeaway here is its phylum, Nematoda. At its heart, Loa loa is a highly specialized type of roundworm, and that puts it in the same broader family as a lot of other pretty significant human parasites. Now that we know what it is, let's talk about its incredible journey. Because the life cycle of Loa loa is nothing short of an evolutionary masterpiece. It's a complex story that absolutely requires 2 different hosts to pull off. So the whole saga kicks off when a specific type of infected fly from the genus Chrysops takes a bite. Tiny larvae wiggle into the wound and start their journey under the skin. Over the next year or so, they grow into adult worms. The females, which can get up to 7 centimeters long, then start releasing thousands upon thousands of microscopic babies, called microfilaria, directly into the person's bloodstream. And this is where the parasite's evolution gets just incredibly clever. These microscopic offspring don't just swim around at random. Nope. They have something called diurnal periodicity. It means they travel to the blood vessels right near the skin, mainly during the day, hitting their peak numbers between about 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And that timing is no accident. It is perfectly synced up with the feeding schedule of the very fly that needs to pick them up.
Which, of course, brings us to the second half of the story. A fly bites an infected person during the day and gets a belly full of blood teeming with these microfilaria. Inside the fly, they go through a total transformation. Over about 10 to 12 days, they develop into infectious larvae, move up to the fly's mouthparts, and just wait, ready to infect the next person and start the whole cycle all over again.
So what does it actually feel like to have one of these parasites? Well, the effects on your health are all over the map, and they really depend on one crucial thing: how familiar your immune system is with this particular worm.
What's really wild is that many people who live in areas where the worm is common can be infected for years and show no symptoms at all. But when symptoms do show up, they tend to be these classic signs: temporary, painless swellings called Calabar swellings that just appear and disappear, some really intense itching, and of course, that unforgettable sight of a worm cruising across your eye.
And this brings us to one of the most remarkable parts of this whole disease. It's all about the immune response. If you grew up in a place where this parasite is common, your body often develops a sort of tolerance. You might have tons of microfilaria in your blood, but your symptoms are pretty mild. But a tourist or a traveler with no previous exposure, their body mounts a massive hyperallergenic counterattack. They get these severe swellings and crazy itching, but their immune system is so aggressive it often wipes out all the microscopic worms from their blood.
Okay, so how do we find and fight an enemy that's this well adapted? Well, the counterattack is really a mix of smart clinical thinking, very specific lab tests, and, of course, prevention.
The diagnosis almost always starts with one simple but absolutely critical question. Where have you been? A travel history to West or Central Africa is the #1 clue. From there, labs can literally look for the microfilaria in a blood sample, use high-tech molecular tests to find the parasite's DNA, or look for the antibodies your body has made to fight it.
Now, treatment can be effective, but it comes with its own set of hurdles. If you're a patient in a country where this isn't common, like the Netherlands, getting the main drug, diethylcarbamazine, isn't as simple as just going to the pharmacy. It usually has to be specially brought in through a Center for Tropical Medicine.
Ultimately, though, the best medicine here is prevention. The goal is super straightforward, even if it's hard to do in practice. Do everything you can to avoid getting bitten by that Chrysops fly. That means using repellents, wearing protective clothing, the whole 9 yards.
So let's just zoom out for a second and think about what Loa Loa really tells us about the world we live in today. Because this parasite story, it's not just confined to one continent anymore.
While active transmission is still stuck in the rainforest of Africa, cases of loiasis are now being diagnosed all over the globe, including right here in the Netherlands. It's become a textbook imported disease, carried across borders by travelers, aid workers, and migrants. And that global spread is exactly why we need ongoing research. And thankfully, clinical trials are already looking for new and better ways to treat it.
Just so you know, this entire explainer was compiled using a Gemini deep search. For any of you who want to go even deeper, you can find a detailed list of all our sources in the Notebook LM document linked below. Hey, if you learned something new today and found this whole thing interesting, we would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel and drop a comment to let us know what you thought.
So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. The story of Loa Loa is a powerful reminder that humans aren't the only global travelers. In our super-connected world, you have to wonder, what other invisible passengers are quietly crossing borders right alongside us?